It and oppose. S the first move of the day. Your feet hit the floor, you stand up, and your knees just one and oppose. T. Your hips feel locked. Your lower back is tight like somebody bolted it shut overnight. You shuffle to the kitchen like a man twice your age, holding the counter, waiting for your own body to wake up. And then somewhere around the second cup of coffee it loosens. You move normal again. You forget it even happened. Until tomorrow morning, when it happens all over again. If that and oppose. SU, I want you to hear this first. You and oppose. Re not falling apart. This ISN and oppose. T the beginning of the end. That stiff, gritty, rusty hinge feeling first thing in the morning has a real, specific cause and it and oppose. S one of the most fixable things your aging body throws at you. So let and oppose. S talk about what and oppose. S actually going on inside those joints while you sleep. Because once you understand it, the fix takes about 2 minutes, and you can do it before you even get out of bed. Here and oppose. S the thing nobody tells you. Inside every joint that moves your knees, your hips, your shoulders, your fingers there and oppose. S a small sealed pocket of fluid. It and oppose. S called synovial fluid. Think of it as the oil in your joints. When it and oppose, S flowing right, your cartilage glides over cartilage, smooth and quiet, and your joints feel springy. When it and oppose, S not, everything grinds. And here and oppose. S the part that explains your mornings. That fluid changes thickness depending on whether you and oppose. Re-moving. When you and oppose, re-up and active during the day, the fluid stays warm and thin and slippery, like oil in a running engine. But when you lie still for 6, 7, 8 hours overnight, not moving, that same fluid cools and thickens. It goes from light oil to something more like cold honey. So when you wake up and ask your knee to bend, it and oppose. S trying to move through sludge. That and oppose. S the stiffness. That and oppose. S the rusty hinge. Doctors actually have a name for this. They call it the gel phenomenon because your joint fluid literally gels up overnight, like jelly setting in the fridge, and then turns back to liquid once you start moving. And that detail matters, because researchers who study this have found something reassuring. When the morning stiffness comes from ordinary wear and tear joints, it melts away in under 30 minutes once you get moving. 30 minutes, and you and oppose. Refine. That short, self-resolving stiffness is the normal, mechanical kind, not the scary kind. Now, why does this hit harder in your 50s and 60s than it did in your 30s? A few things stack up. Researchers studying aging joints have found that your body slowly makes less of the proteins that keep that fluid slippery. One of the big ones is called lubricin, basically your joint and oppose. S built in non-stick coating. By around age 60, your levels of it can drop by roughly half. Half the slick. So the same overnight thickening that barely registered when you were young now actually grinds when you and oppose. Older. Same process. Less lubrication. More noticeable. There and oppose. S a second thing happening overnight, and this one and oppose. S kind of clever once you see it. While you sleep and your joints sit still, the cartilage inside them quietly soaks up water, like a sponge swelling. That swelling tightens the whole joint capsule a little, which shrinks your range of motion right at wake up. Then you move, the joint pumps that extra fluid back out, and the room comes back. It and oppose. S not damage. It and oppose. S just your joints holding water overnight and needing a minute to squeeze it out. And there and oppose. S one more piece. And this is the part most channels skip. Your body runs on a daily clock. Your hormones rise and fall on a schedule. There and oppose. S a hormone called cortisol that, among other things, quietly keeps inflammation turned down. And cortisol hits its lowest point of the entire day in the early morning hours, around 4 to 6 a.m. So right when you and oppose, re-waking up, your body and oppose. S natural anti-inflammatory is running on empty. Any low-grade irritation in a joint gets a little louder, just for a while, until your daytime rhythm kicks back in. That and oppose. S part of why the ache feels worse the second you open your eyes and eases as the morning goes on. Now here and oppose. S a layer most channels skip entirely, and if you and oppose. Re a woman in your late 40s or 50s, this one and oppose. S for you and if you and oppose. Re a man, stick with me, because you probably know someone this explains. For a long time, women who started waking up stiff and achy in their 40s got told it was just aging, or stress, or they were imagining it. Turns out it wasn't and oppose. T in their heads at all. They're and oppos. S a hormone called estrogen that does a lot more than people think, and one of its quiet jobs is protecting your joints. Your joints, your tendons, your ligaments, even your cartilage are covered in little receptors that estrogen plugs into, and when it does, it helps keep those tissues calm, flexible, and less inflamed. So watch what happens at menopause. Estrogen drops, and suddenly all those joint tissues lose a protector they and oppos. D had their whole lives. The result is so common that in October of 2024, doctors writing in a medical journal finally gave it a name: the musculoskeletal syndrome of menopause. And the numbers are not small. Harvard Health reported that this cluster of aching, stiff, locked-up joints affects an estimated 70% of women going through the transition. 70%. And one of its signature symptoms? Feeling locked up for the first 30 minutes of the morning, exactly the gel phenomenon we just talked about, but turned up louder by the missing estrogen. What I love about this is the same thing I keep coming back to. It means the stiffness ISN and oppos. T-proof your body is breaking. For a huge number of women, it and oppos. S a hormone shift hitting tissues that were counting on that hormone, and naming it is the first step to doing something about it, whether that and oppos, S movement, or a real conversation with a doctor who actually understands the menopause connection. If that and oppos, SU, you are not imagining it, and you are very much not alone. So now you know the things ganging up on you at sunrise. Thickened fluid, less lubricin, water-swollen cartilage, a morning hormone dip, and for many women, a deeper drop in the very hormone that protects the joints. A whole pile of reasons your joints feel terrible at 6 a.m. and fine by 9. But here and oppos, S the good news hiding inside almost all of them they and oppos. Reversed, or at least eased, by the same simple thing. Movement. This is the part one really want you to get, because it and oppos. S almost the opposite of what your body is begging you to do. When you and oppos, re-stiff, every instinct says hold still, protect it, don and oppos, T move it. But researchers who study joint fluid found that stillness is exactly what thickens it. In fact, they're in oppos. S research showing that the cells lining your joints actually produce more of that slippery hyaluronan, the stuff that gives the fluid its glide in response to the joint being moved. Move the joint, and it pumps out its own lubricant. Hold it still, and it stops. Your joints are basically self-oiling machines, but only when you turn the crank. So here and oppos, S the 2-minute fix, and you can do it lying in bed before your feet ever touch the floor. The whole idea is simple. Gently move every major joint through its range, slow and easy, to warm and thin the fluid before you ask those joints to carry your weight. We and oppos, LL start at your feet and work our way up the body, so nothing gets skipped. Slow is the whole game here, you and oppos. Re not stretching for fitness, you and oppos. Re just turning the crank to get the oil flowing. And the rule for every single one of these: it should never hurt. Loosening, yes. Pain, no. If something hurts, make the movement smaller. Move 1 ankle circles. Lie on your back, lift 1 foot just slightly off the bed, and draw slow circles with your toes, like you and oppos. Re-stirring a pot. 10 circles one direction, then 10 the other way. Then switch feet. Your ankles are the joint that and oppos. S been dead still all night, so we wake them first. Move 2 heel slides. Legs straight. Keeping your heel on the mattress, slowly slide 1 foot up toward your backside, bending the knee as far as feels easy, then slide it back down straight. That and oppos. S1. Do 8 to 10 on each leg, nice and controlled. This one gently oils both the knee and the hip at the same time. Move 3 knee to chest. Bend 1 knee and bring it up toward your chest. Hold it there with your hands behind the thigh, not on top of the kneecap, and hold for about 15 to 20 seconds. You and oppos, LL feel your lower back and hip let go. Then lower it and switch sides. Just 1 good hold on each side is plenty. This is the one that makes those first steps out of bed feel smoother. Move 4 shoulder rolls. Now we move up top. Roll both shoulders slowly backward, big easy circles, about 10 of them. Then reverse and roll them forward 10 times. Overnight your shoulders curl in, especially if you and oppos. A side sleeper, and this opens them back up. Move 5 open the hands. Last one, and it matters more than it looks, especially if your fingers feel stiff and gummy in the morning. Make a loose, gentle fist, then spread all your fingers out wide like a starfish. Open, close 10 times. Those tiny finger joints have the same thick fluid in them as your knees, and they wake up the same way. That and Oppos. S the whole routine: feet, knees and hips, lower back, shoulders, hands. 5 moves, about 2 minutes, every major joint warmed up and circulating before you ever stand. Do it slow, do it gentle, and let the oil flow before you put your weight on anything. A few other things genuinely help here, and the science is on their side. The first is almost too simple: a glass of water. Synovial fluid is mostly water, and being even mildly dehydrated overnight can make it thicker. So a glass before bed and one when you wake up. ISN and Oppos. T a miracle, but it and Oppos. S working with the system, not against it. The second is heat. A warm shower or a heating pad on a stubborn joint does the same thing movement does: it warms and thins the fluid, which is exactly why your knees feel better after that hot shower. The third one works on a slower timeline, but it matters. What and Oppos. S on your plate. A lot of that morning ache. ISN and Oppos. T just thick fluid there and Oppos. S a low hum of inflammation underneath it, and inflammation responds to food. Researchers studying joint pain keep pointing at the same simple lever: omega-3 fats, the kind in oily fish like salmon and sardines, help quiet that background inflammation, while a diet heavy in sugar and ultra-processed food tends to feed it. You and Oppos. Not going to eat your way out of stiff joints overnight. But week to week, an anti-inflammatory plate is one of the few things that changes how loud your joints are when you wake up. And the fourth, the one almost nobody connects to: morning stiffness, the muscle around the joint. Here and Oppos. S the link. A joint that and Oppos, S supported by strong muscle, gets cushioned. The muscle absorbs the load, so the joint surfaces grind less. After 50, we quietly lose muscle every year unless we push back against it. And a weaker, less supported joint feels every bit of that morning stickiness more. So gentle strength work, even body weight, even a couple of times a week. ISN and Oppos. T about looking like anything. It and Oppos. S about giving your joints a bodyguard. Stronger muscle, calmer joints, easier mornings. And the fifth, the big one, the one that ties it all together, is just not sitting still all day. The joints you move most are the joints that stay oiled. A short walk, getting up every hour. That and Oppos. S joint maintenance, even when nothing hurts. Now, one honest line, because it matters. Most morning stiffness loosens up within about half an hour, and that and Oppos. S the ordinary kind we and Oppos. VE been talking about. But if your stiffness regularly lasts longer than an hour, or it and Oppos. S getting worse instead of better, or it and Oppos. S swollen and hot. That and Oppos. S a different conversation, and it and Oppos. S worth bringing to your doctor, because that pattern can point to an inflammatory kind of arthritis that they and Oppos. D actually want to know about. Knowing the difference is the whole point. The quick easing kind is just your fluid waking up. The long worsening kind deserves a real look. But for most of us, that morning rust is just oil that thickened overnight in a body that and Oppos. S been still too long. It and Oppos. S not your joints failing. It and Oppos. S your joints waiting for you to move them. So tomorrow, before you swing your legs out of bed and shuffle to the coffee pot, take the 2 minutes. Circle the ankles, pull the knees up, roll the shoulders, open the hands, turn the crank. Let the oil flow before you stand. Your second half moves a whole lot better when you start the day by waking your joints up on purpose, instead of fighting them. One quick reminder before you go. This is general information to help you understand your own body, not medical advice. Everybody and Oppos. S joints are different, so before you change anything, especially if you and Oppos VE got real pain or a diagnosed condition, talk to your own doctor. They know your story. I and Oppos. Am just the friend who did the reading.